Hurry up, Joe. Press the button.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
And bam, just like that, it's Friday night again.
Hurry up, Joe. Hit the button.
Dick. Better you than somebody else out there. Let's see, I thought I had another picture in here that I wanted to load. Damn it. Damn kids.
Man. Ladies and gentlemen, bear with us. We are
Unorganized
just doing
as usual.
all our pre-show shit. You know, like
An hour
like-
late.
it's like if we were flying an airplane, we would wait till we were in the air to do our pre-flight checklist. You know?
That's awesome.
I'd be like, Joe, did you do that? He'd be like, I thought you did it. And we'd be like, well, it'll be fine.
Isn't that how it always goes?
Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Romero Pictures Heavy Metal Indie Brigade. With me, your host, George C. Romero, and with me, as always, is my ever-present and faithful producer extraordinaire, Mr. Joe Ridgely, sporting his fancy Romero Pictures Indie Brigade gear, which can be found at romeropictures.com/merch. Although you can't get that sweet limited edition Wings stuff anymore. Although I think we should probably bring that back.
You got a couple of the T-shirts on there still.
Fuck. God damn it.
At least you did when I looked at it yesterday or the day before.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Lance, first one here. Love you, brother. Sean Smithson, what's up? Gunny, John, Gunny, McLaren. Outlaw life. Welcome, outlaws. Welcome, outlaws. Welcome, Don. Welcome, Wheels. What's up, Wheels? Itai. Love you, my friend.
Ty.
Ken. Stephanie.
Oh, we
Stephanie,
got
hope
Miss-
you're feeling good. Hope you're feeling
Miss
good.
Romero is here.
Where? There's my beautiful wife, Rebecca. She's amazing. And I'm so
Carrie,
happy she was able to tune in.
Elena,
Carrie, what's up? There
Dawn,
we
bring
go.
the wings back. I agree. Bring the wings back. But I'm mixing and matching today, so
I don't even know if that's legal in 3 states.
I don't live in the tri-state area anymore, so people up north will understand that.
What's up, JD? Libby, what's up? Yo, so welcome, Outlaws, to this Friday night special edition of Romero Pictures Heavy Metal Indie Brigade.
Special. Okay, now I'm scared.
No, there's nothing special about tonight. Other than the fact that we're going to be talking about marketing with the Indie Brigade's favorite resident professor. And we're just going to be having fun tonight. We're basically what I'm working on doing now for you guys and for anybody else who wants to watch or find us. Is I'm going to, I think, dedicate the rest of the season to marketing for indies. Right. So the idea being, you guys remember a couple of weeks ago, we had Michael and his partner, Robert Lennon, on, and we sort of did we kind of ran the gamut when it comes to talking about marketing. We kind of we just threw everything in a big pot and started talking about it. Well, what we're going to do starting tonight is we're actually going to drill down into that for you guys tonight. I want to start talking about some practical real-world examples. I want to start talking about kind of an overall marketing plan on what to do as an independent filmmaker, and then break that down into some steps, and then dedicate some episodes coming up to each of those steps so that we can really kind of hit the point home, and kind of do a deep dive, kind of a micro look at, how we as independent filmmakers, independent creators and makers and outlaws can market our stuff in kind of the landscape that we're in now and that is coming up next year and in coming years. Because if you think about it, we all want to make our movies, and we start to make our movies, and we go out and we shoot everything, and we wake up on a Friday and we say, hey, it's January 15th and I'm going to make a movie, and and I'm going to shoot these dates. Well, generally, most indie filmmakers, a lot of creators, a lot of makers, and I will say most, I'll say the majority, their foresight seems to end with the production. And then that's when we tend to get blindsided by all the marketing stuff that comes after that, all the stuff that's affiliated, all of the stuff that's required for us to do, for all of that work that we and so many people put into our films and into our projects to actually start to make some money. And that seems to be kind of like a really muddy area for a lot of people. That seems to be something that a lot of people kind of struggle with and have some problems with. And so what I want to do is kind of really dive into that for you guys, and try to, not only kind of go over the fact that the marketing of your project needs to start literally while you're writing the screenplay, but really dive into, what are the steps to take? Because marketing is one of those terms where a lot of people say, oh, well, it's about the marketing. It's marketing. But a lot of people don't really know what that means, right? Like, that means advertisements. That means, post about it on my Facebook. But there's so much that goes into it. There's so much that goes into the strategy of your marketing, the planning of your marketing, the execution of your marketing, the partnerships, the way to look at your project from day one all the way through to when you guys are making profit. Do I have a magic formula? Absolutely not. Do I sit here and warrant and represent to everybody that if you follow this marketing advice, you're going to make $1 million? Absolutely fucking not. What I can tell you guys is that, me, just like a lot of people in this business, just like a lot of people in all businesses, we learn what we have learned by making the mistakes that we have made. We learn how to trust the people we trust by trusting people that we shouldn't have trusted. We learn how to make a good deal by making bad ones. And I guess the point is that it's the mistakes that create the success, right? And if you're not willing to take your lumps and make the mistakes, then you'll never achieve success, right? You might get some overnight something. You might get like a flash in the pan or lightning in a bottle once, but we all know that doesn't really happen more than once. So what we're here to discuss is kind of a long-term look at how to market not only your projects, but yourself, and the general public perception of you and your project. So we're going to be getting into that here tonight in a little bit. Before we get into that, I just want to touch on the fact that we are now on Twitch. We have our very own Discord server. You guys may have noticed that I have been kind of quiet for the last couple of weeks on socials, and I do apologize for that. I am working on getting the time back so that I can jump back in and re-engage with everybody on a really regular basis like I try to do all the time. But as anybody who's been with us since the beginning knows, that there are pockets of time when I kind of go quiet. Generally, we live in a world now where when people go quiet, somebody's like, oh, that person's a dick. Well, I think everybody here knows that when I go quiet, it's because it's with good reason. It means I'm working on something big. And it's requiring a lot of my time, and it's requiring a lot of my own personal creative energy. And my own process is such that I've come to trust it and know that, depending on the level of whatever it is I'm working on, that generally dictates my kind of availability because, I love everybody here. I love what everybody is doing, and I try to be there for everybody all the time, but there do come some times when I have got to kind of keep my head down, keep my own blinders on, and stay focused on my own task at hand, just like I'm trying to help everybody here figure out how to do. that means that a lot of times if I go quiet, it's because something big is on the horizon. Recently, I have gone quiet because, as I think I announced last week, I just got the 501c3 papers for the Veterans Compound, which is probably one of the things I'm most proud of. And I want to throw an extra special thanks out to Gunny for that, because honestly, if he and I hadn't met 5 years ago and had the conversation we had, I probably wouldn't have decided to go formalize the Veterans Compound. And then I also owe my wife the biggest thanks in the world, because she's the one who encouraged me to really go after it as hard as she knows that I can. So I love you, Gunny. Thank you. Becky, I love you more than anything. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. The Veterans Compound is, out of all the stuff we do, I talk to a lot of filmmakers who say things like, oh, well, the best part about a movie is you leave something behind. Well, yeah, you leave a movie behind. And yeah, that's great. You leave your art behind. But the thing I want to leave behind, and the thing my life has led me to realize, is that not everybody will think that my art is important. Not as important as I think it is. Right? And it's important to me for personal reasons. But something that I believe I can give back to the world, and specifically to our veterans, is something that I believe that can outlive me. It can outlive my family, my son. It can outlive all of us. And it's something that can go on for a very long time. And that is something that can truly, truly help a large group of people who have done so much for us and laid it all down for us. So, to me, the Veterans Compound is the thing I will leave this world. And I thank you, everybody, for sticking with me through it, being supportive through it. It has been not an easy process. I'm sure if I had the luxury of super expensive lawyers and all that other stuff, I probably could have breezed through the process. But in true outlaw fashion, I didn't have those things, so I did it myself, and it took fucking forever. And, so anyway, now here we are. It's good to go. I'm officially a 501c3 nonprofit organization, the Veterans Compound. You can learn about it at veteranscompound.org. You can donate there. All donations are, tax deductible, obviously now. So please feel free to like, share, donate, whatever you can to help. We're trying to. I'm now in the process of doing a fundraise. An official fundraise to launch the Veterans Compound. I will go into detail with you guys at some point about that, with regard to exactly how much money I'm trying to raise, how I'm trying to raise it, how it's going, what's going on. I figure if you guys want to come on this journey with me, I'm happy to kind of just put it out there. Because I think that's probably also the best thing for the nonprofit itself too, is to be completely transparent about everything I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and what's going on. So if you want to help, go to veteranscompound.org, donate. If that's not your thing, but you still like it and you want to help out, go to romeropictures.com/merch, click the Scare Tactical link, and get you some Scare Tactical gear. Outlaw loadouts for the indie artist. We've got some amazing artwork there, designed by Ian Steyer, and it's available on cool things like t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, and coffee mugs. And all of the profits from those sales in our store, above and beyond our cost of manufacturing and all that other shit that goes with it that other people deal with. All the other stuff, all the profit goes directly toward the Veterans Compound. So you got a couple of ways to help us out.
And an example of that is right here on Gunny's shirt.
Boom, there you go. Gunny, I love you, brother. Hope all is well with you.
So, there's a few things that are going on right now in the Brigade world, which is kind of cool. So, we always like to touch base on when Brigade members get together and actually work together. So, I don't know if you heard, Scott Lake and Atai started working together. Scott's starting to do movie reviews for My Indie Productions.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't hear that. That's super cool. Well, congratulations, Scott. That's unbelievable news. Itai, you are an awesome, awesome stand-up guy. And I love that. Scott, you'll do a great job with that.
All right. And also an update on Sean's little project. Everybody remember that?
Oh, yeah. Look at that thing.
It is not quite done yet, but Billy's guitar is Bloody Bill's guitar is getting there. That is.
What do you mean it's not done yet, Sean?
Actually, that's in Bill's buddy's hands right now. He needs to get the strings and everything put on. I don't know the.
What the fuck,
thing.
Sean?
Right? What the hell?
It's not done yet, Sean.
And, George is making excuses while he's not around and everything, but yet he's out partying with, guys like this. And
that was years ago. That was my Throwback Thursday picture. I don't ever do Throwback Thursdays. A buddy sent me that, and it was a lot of years and a lot of pounds ago.
Well, you got to tell people who that is, man.
Oh, that's Frank Miller. He's probably one of the most amazing artists who ever. But he was like he was an idol of mine. And I was sitting at the W Hotel bar one day, and I was having a drink after doing something in L.A. in Westwood, and I kind of looked over out of my peripheral, and this guy's sitting there, and he's kind of got the same vibe going on, and the bartender came over and was like, literally went from one to the other, where they were like, "You guys look like you just want to unwind," and we were both like, "Yeah," and I looked over at him, and I was like, "You're Frank Miller." He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey, I'm Romero." He's like, "Oh, hey." And then we bought each other drinks, and then we just hung out and talked. It was one of the best conversations I ever had.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun night.
What else is there? If you missed last week's episode for some reason, A, shame on you. B, it was really freaking cool. We had basically an all-star cast on for our Halloween special. Make sure to go check the replay out on Twitch or YouTube. And
if you missed it, then I don't even know you anymore.
Right? The nerve of some people.
Good God.
I think that's all I had in the bag of my tricks.
Also, Joe, I've turned my phone off now.
Oh, so we won't be hearing any more dinging.
Guys, I'm working on some things right now that are really, really epically huge. And it's been nonstop, and it's been literally nonstop phone calls. I'm working on some pretty big fundraisers. I'm working on some smaller fundraisers, and I'm working on this other thing called fundraising. So for anybody out there who's ever raised money in this business as a creative, we all know that it is the most time-consuming part of our entire lives and our careers. And we also, if you've ever listened to Dire Straits, we all know that sometimes you're the Louisville Slugger and sometimes you're the ball. So.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, my audio just cut out. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
No.
What about now?
Maybe.
Joe, you I'm going to die right here. You look great.
Well,
how's your week? Yeah, enough about me. Let's talk a little bit more about what I'm doing. How are you?
I am great. And, we're not political, but I went out, I voted. That's all I'm saying about that. And I did the advertising point on the hat.
I also voted. I think everybody voted. Well, voted. But, we are not political. We are not politically affiliated. We are nonpartisan. And there's a reason for that. There's enough of that shit going on in the world. There's enough of that shit everywhere you turn. No matter which way you go, somebody's yelling about something. Somebody's judging about something. And that's not what we're about here at the Indie Brigade. We, obviously everybody has their own opinions and their own views. But here at the Indie Brigade, we are nonpartisan. We are non-judgmental. We are welcoming. We are loving, and we want everybody here to learn and grow with us. We want to grow with you guys, and we want you guys to grow with us. And the worst way in the world to make that happen is probably to rattle off opinions that nobody gives a shit about. At the end of the day, we're here. I'm not a politician. Joe, you're not a politician last time I checked.
Nope,
we're not political commentators.
this close to getting Grieco on the ballot. This close.
Yeah, well, when we say we voted, we mean we wrote in Richard Grieco for president. Anyway, the thing is, like, we're not those things. You guys don't come here to hear us talk about those things. You guys don't watch our movies to hear us lecture about anything. You know, with everything that's going on in the world and how crazy everything is, you know, all I want is for this on Friday night, for however long it goes, to be a period in time when all you do is not think about all that other shit, and what you do think about is yourself, your career, and your art, your creativity, that thing in you that drives you, no matter what's going on outside there. When you shut the door and you open your laptop and you sit down to write, or when you pick up your camera or sit down to edit, there is a part of you that has to let everything else melt away. And if you take nothing else from the Indie Brigade, take this now, that I hope that for a couple of hours every Friday night, you put all that other shit aside and you sit here and you hang out with us, and maybe you learn something, or maybe you laugh, or maybe you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, the goal for us is that none of that stuff matters while we're together as a family and as a group of outlaws. It just doesn't matter. What matters is your art, what you're working on, what you're creating, and how you're thinking about your future. Because no matter what the landscape looks like moving forward, we have families, we have friends, we have people that we care about. It's our job to be here for those people, and it's our job to continue forward as outlaws, as warriors, and as creators, because quite frankly, I don't know about some of you, but I know there's some of us who aren't really cut out for this corporate shit, and we've still got families. So just the very act of entrepreneurial survival,
easy for you to say,
needs to take precedent for us at some point. We need to provide for ourselves. We need to provide for those we love. We need to provide for those we care about. And that's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're here to help you do. So we are not here for all that other bullshit.
Yes, this is your escape. And at the end of the day, you all know you can do one thing.
Blame Joe. Yeah.
Just like that.
For anything.
It'll all go away. Ask my wife.
Oh, man. Hey, is the professor in?
I believe he is. I don't know. He's kind of fixing his hair and stuff.
He does that from time to time.
He's got that one out of place. I'm not used to seeing him without a freaking hat again. It's kind of confusing. You got to talk to him about growing out the beard, though.
Uh-oh.
So, without further ado, Mr. Creative Explorer himself, Mr. Michael Mandaville.
How you guys doing there? Look, I got all these up here for Joe, you see?
Yeah. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing pretty good. I had getting ready for the AFM, and I had to do a little tech check there with them because it's all online, you know. And I asked the lady, very nice lady, so do you have a handsome filter on this Zoom? Because I look like a dropout from a 70s band, you know. I've had like Arrest records that look better. So
oh, do tell.
Expunged.
Yeah. Expunged and sealed.
Expunged, sealed, evidence didn't hold. Witnesses didn't show.
What happened in other countries stays in other countries.
Yeah. If you say the word Joaquin, I might answer. That's all I'm saying. But you know.
How are you, Michael?
I'm doing good. How about you guys? Everything okay there?
Everything's great. Everything's beautiful. We're creating, we're fundraising, we're moving forward. The Veterans Compound is a real thing now. It's a real nonprofit now.
I'm excited to hear that because I know so many veterans, and I wrote that book on counterterrorism, and that was actually something I thought that you and I are going to talk about. I'm not sure how to do this yet, but I could sign the books. We could give some away. I may have a group that might want to help do like a little photo or video contest of sorts.
All of these things are great. All of them are great, and all of them are a go. It's gangbusters. This was supposed to get taken care of back in April, and it didn't. And then the lawyer screwed up, and then the lawyer admitted the lawyer screwed up, and then in attempting to fix what the lawyer screwed up, the lawyer screwed up again, and then admitted it again through writing, which took weeks for them to admit that they fucked up. And then. And then came the next letter, which was telling me of their intentions to send me a letter.
It's mind-boggling. It goes to this story I had. I got a couple of them, but one is that they were letting this postmaster, the post person, lady delivered our mail. Great person. I mean, if she didn't see somebody elderly, she'd knock on their door, check on them. She wouldn't when they got their checks and their medicines. So she tells me one day, she goes, "So they're transferring me." And I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me? I know when I get the wrong mail, she didn't have a shift that day, for whatever reason." I mean, and I got so pissed off, and I was between movies. So I go, "Michael's starting a petition." And now here's the way to do this, okay? You have to have a fax machine, which I had, okay? So I got people in the neighborhood watch. I got them to go get people. I got like 200 signatures myself, I met the neighbors. I heard many stories about this lady, I'm telling you. And so every time I got 10 signatures, I sent it to both U.S. Senators of California, 8 representatives, federal and state, the senators of the state, the regional vice president, the U.S. Postmaster General of the United States. I mean, I sent it to literally 25 people, okay? I had this shit programmed. And so I get another 12 signatures. I fire it off again, right? I mean, literally, I sent somewhere around, I think it was 6,200 pages of faxes, right? I just fired it off. So they're like going nuts. And I mean, the mayor, because I just got a burr under my saddle there, and this pissed me off. And, once you get like a dedicated filmmaker rechanneling, you're really fucked. And I literally sent so many letters that the local manager of the post office had to take a week off. He was having a nervous breakdown because they were calling him. And then I got to the U.S. Postmaster General of the United States. I called the office, right? And the lady goes, "Yes, Mr. Mandaville, we've gotten all 37 of your faxes. I think it's over 270 pages now." Because I just update them all the time, right? But that shit sits on the floor. So you got to pick it up. You got to replace. It's physical. Right. And at the end, she goes, "Well, he really can't talk to you right now. He's in with the Attorney General." I go, "Can you put them both on?"
and the beautiful thing about that is that, and this is the filmmaker thing, right?
Yeah.
Like there is no hesitation in that. Well, can you put them both on? Yeah. Only somebody who has worked in the film industry can honestly probably. I'm sure there's other industries, but for the most part, people with experience in the film industry can say that with the straightest face and the most legitimate belief that there's no reason they shouldn't put both of them on the phone with you. And a lot of times, that's all it takes.
That's it. If you don't ask, it's no, right? If you don't ask, it's no. And the poor lady, I kind of felt for her. I was nice. She was like, like nobody asked me that, and I illustrate. And ultimately, she did not stay in her position because of the postal union rules that allows seniority to choose the route they want. Mm-hmm. It is not customer service. We're the customer. It is not competent. It's not a petition. It's not literally. I had people calling this guy. That's why he left for like 2 weeks. He was literally having a nervous breakdown, which was the minor victory that I got out of it all. That's a little friggin' nutty.
Just the deep satisfaction that you mentally broke a human.
Well, I don't know if I would call bureaucrats humans. Let me, since you just dealt with them since April.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Well, and you know the worst part about it, and this is something I'm only going to say this one time on the show because you'll see the rage. In fact, it's right here. The fuck is it? Look at this.
Full screen.
Here's my letter from the IRS. I have been a nonprofit 501c3 organization since April fucking 14th, 2020. And it took me until last Thursday to get this piece of paper allowing me to do business.
That's crazy.
Isn't that, how fucked is that?
I wanted to actually do a reality show where I take a film crew, a staff, and I go into a city hall and I go, hey, we're here to work today. Now, instead of you being on, porn sites and Facebook for 6 hours, we're actually going to get some shit done. And with, I don't know, a third of the people or a half, and, save the citizens a bunch of money. I mean, I don't know. It's just I'm with you. I got the vexing issue. Believe me.
I knew there was spyware on my freaking computer. Thank you, Michael.
You know who else?
Okay, I've edited, Joe.
You know who else has some recent experience with the Postal Service taking forever is Grieco.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they do to him?
Well, why don't we ask him?
Grieco, you set? Mr. Richard Grieco.
Oh, man. That we set the clocks back, so now Richard's like in permanent awesome candlelight.
It actually follows me everywhere I go. Even when I go in my car, I bring it with me. It's electric. It's electric. I can bring it when I'm at dinner, just out for a jog.
Richard, I actually think that should be the title of the opera we talked about last time called Man with a Candle. You do the music, you do the painting, and you travel with the candle because you are enlightening people. I mean, there's a fucking theme here, dude.
How's it going, brother?
Good. Same shit, different day.
Yeah, well, that's actually not true. Today there was some pretty fucked up stuff with Call of Duty today. The servers were
servers were kind of screwed up. My shotgun I can't put any add-ons on it to pass this friggin' basically it's a test. It's so stupid. It's not a written test. I just got
no, but it's still a test.
Yeah. But we had fun today with Call of Duty.
Yeah, it was a good time today. So, listen, we got a lot of people saying hi to you guys, so I'm just going to take a moment before we kind of jump into some stuff and just say, let's see, we've got everybody. We've got Sean Smithson. By the way, Sean, Richard did get the piece that you made for him.
It was awesome, Sean.
Yeah. So he got that, and anyway, so there's that. Let's see. Gunny says professor. Stephanie, Michael, you're professor, by the way.
I am. Oh,
yeah.
That's very kind.
Yeah, you're the resident professor of the Indie Brigade. That's what everybody calls you.
Oh, that's very kind. I like that. I could live with that. I'm the one on Gilligan's Island that has can make a nuclear reactor out of coconuts, but can't get us off the island, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. I'm trying to make sure I got a perspective on it all.
But that's only because the professor on that show never worked on a film crew.
That's it.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, why would the professor ever want to get off that island?
Well, yeah, that's a good point, too.
Because Marianne and Ginger always liked him a lot.
Yeah, they respected him. They liked him.
Yeah, but we need like a modern day Gilligan's Island reboot mixed with that Big Brother show. See what really goes on when those cameras aren't rolling with the professor and those girls.
I actually met. I was at this friend's Christmas party, and Marianne, I can't think of her name, in real life. Dawn.
What is we got Dawn right. Dawn.
Dawn.
No, not Dawn. Dawn.
I don't know.
But the interesting, we were talking, and that just sitting there, and I'm going, in back of your mind, you're going, God, it's Marianne. I'm really talking to Marianne here or something. And we went back and forth and said something, and the question, of course, comes up, Ginger or Marianne. Somebody else brings it up, and I said, oh, it'd have to be Marianne. And she just gives me this playful little slap on the cheek, right? And I was like, what? And I go, can I have another? And she gives me another little chop on the face. And it was just really funny. But I'm like, she was fun. She was a great conversationalist, I have to say.
Dawn Wells.
Dawn Wells.
I was right.
Thank you, Terry.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Resident
Oh,
Drone
damn.
Jesus.
I was looking it up and he already posted it. What the hell?
Yeah, like moments ago. Did you... Man, I love our community here. I love our brigade community, and I love that we're growing it. And it's interesting because we were growing like a shot, and then some weird stuff happened with our stuff not being seen across our traditional socials with Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And YouTube, and so we've now added Twitch to our outlets, and we've added a Discord server, and we reached affiliate status on Twitch. I'm the skipper, and Joe is Gilligan. That is, whenever I need him on the screen, I'll just be like, "Hey, little buddy."
That's right. No, that's not going to fly, I think. Your sound's going to get cut fast. It's kind of like, you never want to fuck with the focus puller on set. There it goes.
I love you, brother.
What's funny is, oh man, Richard's gone completely into the darkness.
Booker.
He just faded back into the shadows. It disappeared.
Booker.
He's chasing his dog.
I don't know if he's chasing his dog or if he has an ego being Booker. Which is it?
His dog is named Booker.
Oh, his dog is Booker. Oh, okay.
He's got a dog named Booker, one named Vader.
I've seen some of the pictures. They're freaking awesome.
They're amazing dogs. So anyway, just to talk about this Twitch thing, basically what's happening now is we're having to regrow. We're having to kind of like grow the community again in a new sort of place, right? And so that has got me thinking, Michael, down the road of marketing.
Absolutely. Oh, right? Yeah.
And, we had our marketing kind of worked out. We had a great thing going on Facebook and on YouTube and on the socials like that. And it was working really well. And we did a great job with it, and we grew quickly. We grew to the levels we grew to in less than like 6 months, really. It was like unheard of, right? I mean, for not spending a dime, for doing it straight outlaw style, for doing it grassroots, and for doing it by just connecting with our fans. And building and turning this community into a brigade of actual people who care about each other. And now here we are, we've got to do it again. The problem is now I'm going to talk like I've got to talk like a marketing guy now, right? So I've got to talk about us and the Indie Brigade in ways that we've all got to learn to think about our own projects. Right? No matter what this means to me in my heart, no matter how much I care about and love everybody involved with the Indie Brigade, there comes this time when you have to have these conversations where you have to talk about the Indie Brigade like a thing, right? Well, a product.
No, I think you made an interesting, excellent point there on two levels. Number one, I'm going to give that seminar next week at AFM, and from that scheduling budgeting part, I created a presentation for marketing, which, whatever we want to do there. But I said I call it the two hat technique, and I find when people start thinking about movies and then they ask about money, I said to a number of producers over the years, a couple decades, I said, print two scripts. On the one script, you have the creative. What are the character arcs, the emotions, whatever you want to do, the creative component, that's that. Your other script, and I say put it in a green binder and a black binder or something. And then when you have the logistical script, then that's where you write down concerns about production. And it's no different than putting on two hats, but literally you pick up one and the other and your whole mind frame changes. And to wear it both at the same time, even when I'm reading a script, a good sign is I'm reading a script to do a breakdown and I hit 6 pages of dialogue and I go, oh, great, I don't give a shit. Let's just go. I got to, talking at a kitchen table. But I literally, logistically, I've got to say, well, what's happening outside the window, or what kind of weather are we having? I'm not into the emotional subtext of the dialogue here. I've got to do the logistics. But a good sign is when I start going, oh, that's interesting, but oh, wait, I got to snap myself out of it.
Yeah.
It's really one hat or the other. So you have to do the same.
Well, that's right. And you have to think about that. And Richard and I talk about this a lot too when we talk a lot about stuff when we play Call of Duty and we talk on the phone a lot. And Richard was one of the it was Joe, it was my wife, and it was Richard who talked me into doing the Indie Brigade in the first place. So, basically, this has been something that has grown into something that I really, really care deeply about. But I've got to think, when it comes down to it, what's the best way to grow it, right? And this is interesting because Richard and Michael, both, you'll remember, I had conversations with you about a month ago, maybe a little longer, maybe 6 weeks ago. And you guys both were asking me, well, like, what's going on with you? And I said, I don't know, man. There's this phrase that keeps repeating in my head about the Indie Brigade, which is, I've got to figure out how to give the Indie Brigade to the Indie Brigade. I don't know if you guys remember me saying that.
Yeah, I do.
But that was the seed. That was the seed of how to grow. That was the seed of what is Indie Brigade 2.0. What is Indie Brigade 5.0, right? What are the next steps? And that was the seed of me beginning to think about the Indie Brigade as a widget.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and the reason I keep talking about how emotional it is for me and how much I care about it is because that we have that same thing with our products, with our projects. We have that, you write a screenplay and you love that screenplay, and you can give that same screenplay to 3 different people for feedback, and the 2 people who are going to say to you, my God, this is genius, you're going to be like, oh, they loved it, I'm great. And then that one person is going to be like, you should really fix your punctuation, and the hatred comes out. What the fuck do they know? Have they ever fucking read a book? What are they, an English teacher? Fuck that person,
Yeah.
And we have to turn that off when it comes to thinking. You have to think about your thing you're making, your movie, your song, whatever. You have to think about it like the product that it is. Mm-hmm. You have to think about the market where it's going to succeed. You have to think about how to penetrate that market. You have to think about how to penetrate that market with messaging that's going to resonate. And you have to then come up with a plan to execute, and then execute and carry that across. Right.
What's interesting is that I remember when I was working, I worked briefly with the distributor, August Entertainment, and I think it was in the 80s. And trying to remember the guy's name. Anyways, he was pretty innovative because that kind of, right around then with John Daly, be the late 80s, somewhere in there. But that's when they really started doing a lot of pre-sales. The banker in London came up with pre-sales. And so that became a big deal. And it really ignited the indie market. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting is when they started referring to films, which I adored since I was a kid, as product.
Mm-hmm.
And I could almost never call it product. And it just seems so demeaning to me and or insubstantial. And I can't think of a film that, even one that maybe I go, oh, it's not a great film, but it's a film. It's this iconic expression to me. And I think what's interesting is when people like distributors think of product, I get it. You got to fill the shelves. You got to sell stuff. It's a business, etc. Mm-hmm. But what I think you've achieved on the Indie Brigade, no matter the iteration of Facebook, which you and I had a discussion about and how they change their algorithms and have all their BS happening. Hence, I think you made a very smart strategic and tactical move into Twitch and the server. And it was great. I think it was a very smart move to give yourself flexibility and distance. But what you still have, no matter where you go, are three things: content, engagement, and authenticity. Mm-hmm. You haven't changed any of that. Now, whatever the platform is, it's like when somebody calls up, and if I disagree with somebody on something, but I think they truly believe whatever they're saying in a reasonable manner, I have more respect for them, even if I disagree with them about, oh, that film's great, oh, I don't think so, whatever it is.
Right.
But it's authentic. And so whatever the iterations and opportunities, because it's kind of weird, it's kind of saying, look, things are this way and they're going to be this way for a long time. And we couldn't be living in an era of the last 30 years that is more different than that. Right. And look at what I dread is artificial intelligence and the Unreal game engine, to where we actually will have absolute movies that we can conceive and put it online, and they'll make the movie for us, and we'll never have to do anything.
What was that movie with Al Pacino? Was it an Al Pacino who did a movie about an AI actress?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
I can't think of the name. It was like Susie, or it had some
I am not going to look it up because DJ's going to have it in like 3 seconds.
I want to say it was called like Simone or something. But,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think
and
right.
it was a great concept. But even back when that movie came out, that movie was born out of conversations that were being had.
Yeah.
I remember being in conversations where, people would say, oh, you see this movie coming out, and then it would spark these actual conversations like, well, it's not going to be long before we don't have actors anymore. And, like, come the fuck on. Like,
it's interesting because I had this conversation with somebody in regards to legacy actors, i.e., if I wanted to see Charles Bronson in a movie, a real badass kind of dude and whatever. And the other part is, on the flip side, is right now, and in terms of insurance and making films, before you can actually use a very costly actor, they want to make sure that they take all the photographs of them possible if they do face replace on a double because of COVID or other exigencies. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of in that little bit of a cusp on like, well, what does that really mean? And then would you be able to take that not only to finish the film, but to extend their life, their estate into the intellectual property world? Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's that far.
Well, no, and we could go down. I mean, listen, you just said like 5 things that could send us down one of those tangents.
Yeah,
so
you and I were capable of that. Like, people would be going, it's Sunday, man. You guys should go off the air. You idiots, what are you doing? Go snoring on the other side of the microphone. I can just see it right now.
Richard, we've got some fans of which one of your guys do you have there with you? Which one of that? Which puppy?
Oh, that was Booker, because she kept running. I don't know where the hell she was. And then,
well, Susie says she really needed the puppy tonight.
Oh wait, I'll show her Vader's. There's a Vader.
Oh. What a face. Oh. That's great. What a mask. Wow.
That's a nice, what is that, a sweater?
Oh, yeah.
What is that, cable knit?
All 3 of them got matching sweaters. It's couture, of course.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
See, Richard, that actually works really well with the opera, The Man with a Candle and the Dogs with Couture. I'm telling you, there's a real theme here we're digging out,
What's up, Ron? I didn't see you in the comments there. Thanks for coming. Scotty, what's up? Ryan Courtney, what's up, brother? Just hitting these comments real quick. Just got to say again, love you, Gunny. So, back to it. So we're talking about marketing. We're going to talk about marketing here.
Okay, I'll believe it when I see it, but go ahead.
Welcome to the Indie Brigade. Tonight's topic is marketing your independent film. So here we are, what's up, David Madison? So here we are, we're now, and why don't we talk about the Indie Brigade as a working example, because it's something that everybody here can touch, right? In some level, right?
I think that's a good idea.
So here we are. We've got the Indie Brigade. We've got literally the best community I've ever seen developed anywhere on social media. We've got people who care about each other. We've got people who join us regularly on the show who truly care about helping everybody in the brigade. We've got friendships that have been made, business partnerships that have formed, project collaborations that have happened. All of this stuff has happened. That's more than I could have ever hoped would have happened from back when Joe called me and said, "You want to do a podcast?"
Now, was that from jail? Was he calling you from jail?
No, he was calling. He was actually calling me while I was in jail.
Oh, I knew there was something.
Yeah, Michael, you got to be specific on which call you're referring to and when.
One of us is usually in jail.
Hence, there is the new and improved Romero Pictures Indie Brigade soap on the rope.
And coming soon, Romero Pictures Indie Brigade bail bonds program.
I did have bail bonds as a line item in the budget on a couple times, I have to tell you. I did. That's totally true.
I know you. The first time you told me that, I about lost my shit. I laughed so hard.
I checked out reputations. I go, yeah, we got to have it in there. And I hope there's not like a 3-day weekend and then they're gone. It was. It's like, how do I install a tracker on in their head? It was,
well, again, that's another topic that could spin us.
I'll be good. I'm going to be good, Cameron. I'm going to be good.
So we're talking Indie Brigade. We're talking marketing the Indie Brigade. And we're talking marketing the Indie Brigade to not only an existing audience. I'm going to write this stuff down, right? We're talking about marketing an existing entity to existing audience target, right?
Well, I would actually call it, and
a new audience.
Yeah.
Right? So we this is a twofold effort. And now in the process of doing that, we're also launching 2.0, right? Which is actually more like 3.0. So we'll call it 3.0. So, and in this 3.0, we're now, how do we give the Indie Brigade to the Indie Brigade? What does that mean? So let's break that sentence down, right? The purpose of this product is to give this product to the people who helped build this product. So how do you do that?
Well, I got.
What does that mean? What does that mean, first of all? What does that phrase mean to both of you guys?
Richard, you want to go or do you want me to go?
In the reference to as far as like a brand.
Yeah, just the you remember talking with me, man. I was like, how do I give the Indie Brigade to the Indie Brigade? Like, what does that mean? Like, I'm not saying that we have an answer. I'm saying what we're trying to do now is come up with the answer of what that means. For me, what it meant was to try to kind of build more of a city, give more control of the Indie Brigade community to the community itself, move away from a situation where people are eventually, not that anybody feels this way yet, but within another 6 months, it's going to turn into one of those things where people feel like, well, I'm not, what am I? I'm going to tune in. They're just going to just going to lecture me about shit, right? Even though that's not what we're doing, eventually you get tired of listening to your teacher, right? So how do we?
I think we were talking about getting people involved actually in the Indie Brigade, as far as like actually having some kind of voice within the confines of or the openness of the Indie Brigade. You know what I mean? And people coming on, talking about things. We talked about forums. It was an interesting thought process of having people's ideas, what they're going through, as far as their thought process about projects, art, music, whatever, producing, directing, budgets, this and that, having that sounding board. And it's not like it's someplace where they can go and get answers, and also by trying to find answers, they also give those people they're looking for answers to. Those people are finding, questions and answers that they never thought of. So I think a big part of the Indie Brigade, and I think where you're trying to head is, I think we're in that with Michael's show and the Fragment show, it's all about. It's not about this. It's about all of them and everybody out there. So it's a real important factor. And I think a lot of people, look at anything that becomes successful quickly usually burns itself down because it forgets about the people that got it there in the first place.
That's right. Yeah.
So once it gets to a point, now you could look at this going, well, we're at a point now. Yeah, we're not where we want to be, but just remember, these things go from 0 to 60 for a while, then all of a sudden it goes 0 to 1,000. You don't know how it happened.
Yep.
So I think the main frame of that whole idea is keeping the nest egg or the hub or that encompassing the people that were in there at the beginning and keeping them and flourishing and having that grow and the word of mouth and stuff like that, keeping this thing organic as possible and not, this is Friday night, they're going to talk about this because that's what it says. Because everything has a tangent. Everything, what is that famous Yogi Berra saying? When you see a fork in the road, what is it, Michael?
Oh, another one. It's like the Sam Goldwyn-isms, include me out. It's kind of right? Like one of those.
When you see the fork in the road, take it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
But
Yogi Berra.
He had. That's another. I can talk about that for hours. I think it's keeping it. What we're doing is organic. We're supposed to be talking about one thing tonight, but we got off on a tangent on another thing. I think that's what keeps it fresh and new.
I think you make a really good point, and just to jump in quickly before Michael, we get your take on it. This is something I forgot about until just this fucking second when you reminded me. And I used to talk about this on the show. Michael, you know as well as I do. From all the time we spent at Guido's, right?
That's a restaurant, by the way, people. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. It's not the trunk of somebody's car.
Yeah, we want to be clear about things.
Yeah, well, not the Guidos we're talking about. That's another. Never mind. So, no, I learned more about how business is done in this business by doing business in places where I could overhear other people doing business. I know that's hard to follow, but I learned more from sitting at tables and sitting next to tables, and overhearing. And that is what this is supposed to be. This is us sitting down at a table, just like we've all done in LA a million times, and talked business. And I mean, every one of us has been somewhere. Every one of the three of us has been somewhere where we were talking about a project. The person we were talking to got up and left. And then some random fucker comes over and says, hey, I couldn't have helped but overhear you were talking about blah, blah, blah. Perhaps you'd like to get involved with me. Or perhaps you can, blah. And like there is an element to doing business in this business that is exactly that.
Yeah.
And that is the goal for these shows. And so what Richard is talking about is while we could come on here and say, okay, here's what we're going to talk, point A, point B, point C, point D, there is an organic sensation that goes with the way these shows kind of go that I think makes the learning that people take away from it a lot more fun. It makes it feel like we're all hanging out. And I don't think that was something that was done by design, because I don't think it could be done successfully by design. I think it is the natural, organic way that this has turned into what it's turned into. Anyway, Michael, thoughts?
No, I like the way Richard put that, very much so, because there's two components to learning in life, and one is formal and one is informal. And formal takes many directions. It's the institutions you belong to, schools, et cetera, and in our case, the formal knowledge is technology. How do you light a scene, et cetera, and then the informal knowledge around the table you just talked about. And I think that having both of those, because if you look at it's like a friend of mine has a P&A fund, right? It's sitting there for a year. It's like $110 million sitting there for a year. You can't do anything. So I've been trying to work out something like, how do you actually use money mandated in a certain area, but actually do it and do sales online, but to such a degree that the theatrical revenues that would ramp up pretty quickly, because you go right from the box office to get your money back. Right? You're at the top of the food chain on that. You don't want to be funding the movie. You want to be funding the P&A, ideally in a successful movie. But how does that translate to this new world we're in right now, as well as the online world? And so you can't come up with that out of a formal instance of learning. It's an informal brainstorming conjecture. And I think that's really like the same thing that filmmaking favors, that the market favors, that when you get this direct conductivity from audience and eyeballs to interest, that's not something that's going to be in the ivory tower, the black tower at Universal.
Right.
They're rarely going to have one. They can't get their finger on the pulse of it. And here, like, if people go, well, I don't know, I think they could do it. I'm going, let me point out one thing. 7-8 years ago, Netflix was what? Nothing. Now it's everything. And you're telling me that Viacom, Sony, Disney, Universal, and AT&T Time Warner couldn't say to some kid who's 23 years old, here's $300 million, which is $1,000 to us. Go build that. Those guys over there at Netflix, go build that. You're on your own. But it was not because they didn't have the money, it's because they didn't have the insight.
Yep.
And hence, the structural institutional bias can be subverted by the indie brigade and people that are entrepreneurial thinkers. And that informality that we have, hey, there's a little in over here to market. There's a way over here. And they don't actually... Have you ever read an article called a Thousand True Fans?
I have not.
It's a very fascinating article, because that's what you have with Indie Brigade, 1,000 true fans, probably a lot more. I'm saying, but if you have 1,000 true fans, and his premise is you have 1,000 true fans. I mean, that means true fan means they'll buy anything you do. So think of it. If you have 1,000 and they were to spend $100 a year, that's $100,000 a year for you to keep working as a filmmaker and an artist. at least, great mood and level in some parts of the country. Kentucky a little better than Los Angeles or New York, let's say. But at the same time, that gives you a benchmark and it gives you an actual number, 1,000. It's not even an idle, an idle dream. Oh, someday I'll make a movie. Nope. I'm getting 1,000 fans. I know that number. There it is. It's not 99. It's not 1,001.
Right.
So, but I think Indie Brigade kind of moves in those 1,000 true fans with Indie Brigade in this informal base of knowledge and opportunity. It's like what Richard was saying, like, well, how do you share this knowledge on a billboard? And I don't know, a billboard, a knowledge base, a wiki. Like I keep looking for like really good lighting videos. Well, the books are there and I've got a number of those, that's for sure. But I like to save them. But then I have to organize them. And it's almost like a group willing to organize will go, those are the best videos on lighting, sound, setting levels. I mean, then you got that part. And then you have the forum of like, so how am I doing this on Facebook to move to, to Twitch, to, the guerrilla filmmaking that they won't get in that Black Tower.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, my friend I got a friend of mine from high school and he's up there at AT&T and he literally goes to Time Warner. AT&T bought Time Warner. Now it's, what's it called? Warner Media, I think now. So he said it was so funny. The guy pitches, what's that?
I said, sure. They changed the name so much. Like it's called,
It's all like all over the place. He said it was so funny. The guy pitched a movie for $40 million. I think $45 million and they'll make 200 or whatever. And everybody on his team, he goes, it was the weirdest thing. We all kind of shrugged and said, go for it. Because for them to move the dial at AT&T, they have to create they have to make $5 billion in a year to move the dial, which is in essence another Fortune 500 company in a year. So 40 million perspective wise doesn't mean a lot, which is mind boggling, but nonetheless, so it's a mentality that's so far removed from the opportunities here.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. When you talk about the Black Tower at Universal, you're talking about that big building there in Lancaster.
Yes, the Black Tower.
Yeah.
Shit goes in, it doesn't come out. It disappears. It's like Gandalf and and Rutabaga. I can't remember their names. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the other guys are, they just disappear. They're gone.
I used to laugh. I went there for some meetings years ago, and I went to one of the floor 14 or whatever. And you're walking down the hallway, and it's all these doors, and it literally is these hallways that you see in movies, and that's exactly what it looks like. Every door is the same, everything is the same, and it even smells the way you think it would smell, right? Which is like this weird lack of smell. It actually murders your sense of smell being in the hallway. And every door is like blah 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 global headquarters, and then 6 feet blah 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 global headquarters, and blah 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 worldwide center for blah blah blah. And it's just like behind the door, like you go walk in the door and it's like two guys with desks from IKEA.
And it's like worldwide headquarters for countries beginning with W, or with square miles less than 1,000. Which is Vatican City, Nauru, and Tuvalu or something. It's like,
and they all had the same fucking spiel. Oh well, you could walk in any building, any office in this building, and they're going to tell you this. But here's what makes me different. I'm going to make this deal for you. And then you're like, really? Well, would you like me to bend over first, or do you just want to fuck me? And and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that. And you go next door, and it's almost the same fucking script. And and again, like I remember when I was going through it younger, it kind of made me a little bit angry. I was like, who the fuck do these guys think they are? Well, then growing up, becoming an entrepreneur, having some successes, getting some stuff to work, I realized that these guys are just like all of us. They just lack the creativity to go out and make the movies.
And the boldness.
Right. Boldness. So they have come up with this business model that basically supports itself. They're like these micro bureaucracies.
Yes. It's like the post office I told you about earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Like the post office. That's it.
Yeah. But they all market themselves. And part of marketing themselves is convincing you that they're going to market your shit. The problem with this is, and this is what prompted even wanting to go down this marketing road. The problem with everybody telling you that their experience and their expertise in this industry is what you need for them to market your product, at the end of the day, what they're saying is they're going to market your product the way they want to market it. What does that mean? That means they're going to market it to the people they need to market it to. They're not going to market it to people who are going to become your fans. They're going to market it to a group of 10 or 20 people who are going to make the fucking same deal for international sales for your movie that they're going to make with these people for 20, 30, 40, 150 movies that year. A lot of that takes place at AFM. So, you know, these folks are not marketing you. They're not marketing your art, your creativity, your passion. They're not marketing the year of your life you put into this film. They are taking your film that you literally cried during making, you laughed, you maybe had a breakdown, you lost a lot of money, you invested a lot of money, you made all these risky decisions, you put every ounce of your fucking being into getting this thing done, and these guys boil it down to this.
Yeah.
And say, well, I can market this coaster because that's all it fucking is to them.
It's a product.
So this is why independent filmmakers need to learn how to market their own shit. Just because you're paying somebody to market your film doesn't mean you can sit back and get rich.
Well, you know, I spoke with Steve McAvity, and he had done Passion of the Christ, We Were Soldiers, I mean, Braveheart, a lot of, you know, Icon with Mel Gibson. And his office is in Santa Monica, and he goes, I don't need producers. I need producers who know how to market. Mm-hmm. And I think a great deal of that angst came from the fact that they did a movie, you know, Passion of the Christ. So Mel Gibson does this movie. Nobody wants to pick it up. He puts it out there. He had authenticity. He believed that story, and he put it out accurately. I believe it was accurate, you know, from the source material, the biblically, etc. But the people that are his fans understood why that, and I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking authenticity of story here, but they believed in it, and he was able to connect with them. And I think that with Steve McAvity made a realization where he goes, wow, we were had a significant movie. I think it was 32 million, and it was completely outside that studio system. They didn't want to touch it. And that was kind of an interesting, I mean, think of how big that movie was and what a risk. And it was an independent movie. Mm-hmm. And then it came on the back end, and they said, oh, well, we picked up something. And the result of that movie was that Fox started Fox Faith. And I'm saying this from the point of view of an underserved audience that Hollywood picks up on and went, oh, there's money. Let's therefore create Fox Faith. Now, what the problem was is I went with Bill Duke. He had a really cool project called Cover. And it was about a faith-based project. It's a remarkable story because it's about black men who particularly got out of prison. And because they were in prison, what they would do is be on the down low, even though they were married. And that means that they were having sex with other men while they were married because of their experiences in prison. It's a very serious movie. Mm-hmm. The reason he actually was interested in the movie is his goddaughter got AIDS. She was born with it like as a child because the mother got it. So there was this thing of having to Bill. He said, I wanted people in the black community to be able to have a discussion about this in which is the black community is generally a very religious oriented community. So he wanted to have a discussion that was both realistic and understanding. I mean, his reasons for it were very praiseworthy. and Bill was a great guy. So he goes to Fox Faith, and you had to juggle the communities because he shows the script to the community, and they said, based on authenticity, I keep echoing that word, but that's critical because it's a critical part of the indie brigade. It's a critical part of the indie filmmaker is authenticity, not the false Hollywood Black Tower crap you were just talking about. So Bill said, I went to the community, I showed him the script. He literally had black ministers read it and give input, and I read the input, that you need redemption through Jesus Christ for this script to succeed in the black religious community. Then he would go to Fox Faith, and they'd say, you know, you mentioned Jesus an awful lot in there. And I'm like, I literally took the person's card and I go, doesn't it say Fox Faith? So who was inauthentic? Now, I'm not saying you have to make a movie about Jesus or whoever or Buddha, whoever you want. It's fine by me, but it's free expression in this world. God bless the First Amendment in the United States of America. And my 2 cents. But the point is, though, is Bill had an authentic reason and meaning as an indie filmmaker to make that, and it was completely not graspable without bias at the institution that wanted to create a very significant and important division to actually get involved in those kind of movies. I mean, just look at the contradictions and hypocrisy there. But
well, sure.
There's the nutshell. I mean, I saw both of these and I was like, God, this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned authenticity a couple of times tonight, and you know that is really important. And again, you know, to kind of circle back to Richard on this, you know, I think that one of the best things that I've personally seen through this kind of period of 2020 with you, Richard, is you have shown your audience more authenticity about your own art than I think they've ever seen before. And, you know, that in itself has endeared your audience to you even more than they already were. And I think that's a bold thing to do. And I think Michael makes a really good point that authenticity, you know, and to follow up on that point, I think that in the world we live in now, that authenticity is even more important because people don't want to be lectured. They don't want to be told Thursday night is must-watch TV. They don't want to be told you can only watch this piece of content at this place and this date and this time. They want everything. We live in a bespoke society now, right? We live in a society where everybody wants everything they do and interact with and experience to feel like it's tailored to them and their own needs. Authenticity is what drives that point home. And, you know, Richard, as an artist, that authenticity, that's something you've spoken to me about a lot. And I think that you've made some really, really bold moves this year with bringing that authenticity to the surface. And I wonder, was that something that you just kind of just did out of the sheer authenticity of it? Or was that something you sat back and thought, you know, I think it's time I show a different side of myself?
I don't know. I mean, I think, back when I came onto the scene, I dressed different than ever people. I came out to LA and, you know, like a long black coat and ripped jeans or a leather jacket and work boots and from New York City. And I'd wear the cloak all the time in the summertime, and people thought I was a little weird. And I'd always, at all these meetings, I'd always be sitting on the curb out front, smoking a cigarette with his coat like this, like a cape, you know. And a buddy of mine used to just call me Streetwalker because I'd always be out in all these meetings, always be outside all the time. I think, look at bottom line is a cookie cutter society, you know, and Hollywood likes to do cookie cutter actors, cookie actresses in movies and this and that, because they try to put them in these places that they think it works. I mean, you have guys like me, and there's a few others that are, that are authentic, genuine, did their own thing. Yeah, you got backlash and stuff like that because it wasn't the mold, or it wasn't the commonality, or wasn't the normality out here. And being normal, I think, out here is abnormal, because I think my normality is my abnormality in Hollywood.
That's well said.
And I think because I am always been pretty true to myself. I mean, I think this time in 2020, I mean, through chaos comes creative thinking, I think, and when you have chaos, there's also a way, and it sounds kind of, crass a little bit, but there's an opportunity in everything. And for indie filmmakers, through this COVID pandemic, everything else that's going on, I think if you know the right, it's like, those things where you have the marble and you go, and it's got the maze, and you go like this,
Mm-hmm.
you go like this. There's a way to do something, what we're doing now, where you can build a society of filmmakers, artists, musicians in this niche, and make our own stuff, distribute our own stuff. Because you got to think, back in the day, this is how the studios were talking to. This is how the smaller studios were talking to. This is how the Morgan Creeks were talking back, in the 80s or the 70s and stuff like that. But with on-demand, I mean, VOD and stuff like that, there's a way to parlay this into, bottom line is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing new content, because people are starving for content right now. I mean, Michael knows that. They're just starving for new content. I mean, they're just dying for new content. That's why you're seeing old things popping up again, like on TV. So, I mean, see, what network started Sunday night movies of the week again? Was it CBS? Or?
Yes, I think it was CBS.
CBS.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like a year ago, someone would have brought that up at CBS. They would have fucking fired him, like right there.
Yeah.
Get out of here. What are you, stupid? So
it's like the miniseries, remember? They started miniseries, and now it's called a limited series, but it was a miniseries. So like, this isn't new.
No, and
it was called Shogun, or
Lonesome Dove.
And they're doing
Lonesome Dove,
and they're all really successful. So there's a way to do something in a way. And Michael brought up a good point too. You got 1,000 people that are loyal fans, and $1,000. Now there's a way to parlay everything into where everyone can join in. Like we brought up the thing about the writing thing, about everyone coming along, writing something, coming up with a book. The book would probably be like, probably 6 feet wide, but it'll all be digital, and everyone being a part of it. I think an interesting thing with people in the brigade is, if we did something, it'd be just interesting. I mean, if you did a movie,
you hit on something, Richard.
You did a movie. This is a really interesting idea. We did something. Let's say me, you, and Michael came up with this idea. We had an idea for a film, and whether it be something Michael already has, I already have, or you already have. Came up with everybody in the indie brigade and making them all part of it in a way where they're all like associate producers. They're all involved some way. Some can be involved just like with their name on it. Some can be involved like maybe getting a day on it, but just something where you can bring everybody in, be part of something, and they can, I really think it could be done in a way, as long as we have, obviously we've got to have somebody that knows, okay, we have to do it this way, so we're not like immersed with all this stuff we don't know what to do. But I think there's a way to get something done where it brings everybody involved, where everyone feels a sense of accomplishment from here to here, but everybody is at the same level. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but everybody's at the same level. So I think COVID, this whole thing that's happening, I think gives us an opportunity to bring all these people in, especially with independent movies. And you know what? The studio system, I think, got a big wake-up call this past year.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's
a lot of overhead to do nothing.
Yeah, and it's people like us that they're going to be scared of because we're thinking of ways around the system.
Mm-hmm.
And this has given us a door to kind of sneak in and go, and all of a sudden they go, oh shit, why didn't we do that? Well, you didn't do that because you're up there and you're actually not, but you forgot where you came from. Mm-hmm. And all those phone calls that you never return, all those emails you never fucking open.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, and those times where you go, we'll do lunch next week, and then that was December 25th, 2019. Then you get a call, you know, 2 weeks ago, you want to do lunch. You're like, yeah,
let's do Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah.
You're the turkey, motherfucker.
Well, what's interesting is that, Richard, you just keyed on something, and Michael, you keyed on this in a little different way earlier too. And you know, once again, kind of like when we all get together and talk, this is what I hope people learn from and take stuff away from, because what you guys both just talked about was as an indie, as an outlaw, more specifically as an outlaw indie, we have an ability to be, and I meant to say this at one point, you know, a lot of people use the term nimble to describe what we indies can do when it comes to marketing, when it comes to finding interesting ways into a system, or finding like, oh, well, maybe this little niche market over here will be good, you know, or maybe this will be good. I like to call it tactical. And it goes back to, I think my first exposure to it was actually the movie Sideways. You guys remember that movie Sideways about the wine? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So at the time, that movie won an Oscar. And at the time, that movie, I can sit here with, you know, with a sober mind and all honesty in my heart when I tell you that movie was marketed into its Oscar, right? And the way that movie was marketed was brilliant and genius, and the publicity campaign for it was phenomenal. And I happen to know one of the guys who worked on that publicity campaign, and since that movie was about wine in Napa Valley, they went out and literally hit this kind of subversive marketing thing all about it. And they would do things like send, you know, the cast to wine tastings up on tours in Napa, and they would get articles in wine. Yeah. They would get articles in Wine Spectator magazine promoting the movie, you know, kind of like variety style articles, interviews with the filmmakers or the actors, but they would run them. They wouldn't run them in the traditional outlets. They would run them in Wine Spectator magazine or Cigar Aficionado. And they were one of the first people to do that. And what it did was it got the attention of the entire country and ultimately the entire world on this small little film with Paul Giamatti and Thomas
Hayden Church.
Yeah. And you know, that movie, yes, it was a great movie, but there were plenty of other good Oscar contenders that year. But that movie's publicity and marketing campaign was genius, and they did exactly what both you guys are talking about. Mm-hmm. You're talking about being tactical in the way you think about marketing. You're talking about finding ways into, you know, sort of alternate avenues into a mainstream message. And, you know, I think that's probably, that should probably maybe be kind of like where we pick up next week, to be perfectly honest, because I think we could do a whole conversation about different ways to kind of like backdoor in by identifying niches, creating what I call a super niche, you know, and using your own P&A efforts to do exactly that and create a super niche for your product, whether that's a film or a song or whatever it is. So maybe we can pick up with that next week if you guys are down with that.
Yeah, and, absolutely. I just wanted to say something about Richard, because he gave me a thought that there's some way to jumpstart in Indie Brigade's production effort, kind of a very low risk one, might be to kind of think of some kind of anthology element. And that's where some article, whatever it is, goes from scene to scene to scene. And it could be something, common. It could be, obviously it could be a pen, it could be a flower, it could be, there's something. But it has this moment where, a bunch of people in the Indie Brigades could be doing these small little scenes. And that'd be great about publicity, but it would also show a lot of different creativity and a kind of interesting little verve, and it could have a kind of a cool theme.
Well, what's interesting is, and I like that, and what's interesting about that is you guys both know, because we've talked about it, one of the projects that I've been working on for a long time is called Moments of Terror. And I have no problems talking about this with you guys now live because it's copywritten, it's protected, it's all that other stuff. It's with the Library of Congress. But the concept is an anthology where every episode is no first act, no third act. It's only a second act, and it's a terrifying moment in someone's life with no explanation of how they got there and no resolution as to whether or not they get out. And that would be a really interesting low-risk thing that we could
There you go. Yeah. That's a great one. Yeah, that's a great one.
Like for instance, one of the first season episodes, when we finally get into production, if it ever goes, is literally a pregnant mother in the middle of a shootout, pinned down in the middle of a street with basically no cover, and she's got her other small child with her, and she's pregnant, and she's pinned down in the middle of a street while good guys and bad guys are literally engaged in a gunfight over top of her. Just for a couple of minutes.
Demented guy. I love you.
Think about another episode where we're in an upside down car on a blind curve with the guy who's just wrecked his car, and everybody coming around the curve from both sides is careening into him. Just for a moment. We don't know how he got there. We don't know if he lives, but it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a picture of a guy, and he actually goes, "Hey, there's a nice fish here on the boat. I'm going to go check it out." And he jumps in the water, and then, boy, he turns around, he comes right out. It's a great white. And I mean, 10, 15 feet away. And it's like, the guy thinks it's like some massive tuna or something. And I'm like, dude, you got to get better on fish identification here. Something's wrong with you. There, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
I love that idea.
Moments of Terror, isn't that every minute of every day of being an indie filmmaker? Basically, yeah. Basically just being an entrepreneur or an artist or anything. Well, listen, guys, this has been a fun episode tonight, and I thank you guys both for coming on.
Thank you.
We will pick this up next week and kind of start with that, like how to identify some niches, how to kind of maybe go down that road. And Michael and I talked, and we are working on doing a PowerPoint presentation that will actually laser focus everything that we're talking about on these episodes coming up, and we'll make that available for download for free in exchange for things like all your personal information.
Mother's maiden name and credit card number. No, exactly. Kidding.
No, Social Security number is good enough.
There you go.
That's all we need. So, all right, gentlemen, I thank you so much for tonight. We're out of time.
Richard, Cameron, Joe, thank you.
Good night, guys. Good seeing you guys.
Good seeing you too.
See ya. I didn't interrupt that much. I was good.
Yeah, you were good. Fuck you.
Whatever.
Great show. Great night. Great talk.
Absolutely. Very informative. I mean, a lot of participation and, yeah. I'm interested to see where this is going to go next week.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. Everybody, I can't thank you enough for everything. I can't thank you enough for being here. I can't thank you enough for being part of the Indie Brigade. I can't thank you enough for literally everything you've put into helping us build this from the start. And I can't thank you enough for sticking around with us through all the ups and downs and all the experimental stuff and all the everything. So you guys are literally one of the most important things in my life. And I thank you. Everybody except Joe.
There were questions. I'm sorry. There will be no end of the night this evening. David is assuring us that he's going to have a spectacular Friday the 13th show next Friday, so be sure to tune in then. He's going to have updates throughout the week and let us know what's going on. It's guaranteed to be a good time, and as he says, you'll never know who will show up.
Boom. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for everything, for all you do, and for being here. I love every single one of you outlaws out there. And stick with us, because it's only going to get better. You ready? Fuck off till next time. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail.